Hi, I'm Joshua Carving, and welcome to another Death Battle prediction video. But first, Metal Sonic versus Zero. Well, I definitely agree with their outcome and such. I feel like they did nerf pretty much everyone. There was, like, Sonic characters are faster than Mach 35, and as is Zero, way faster than what they said, and way stronger. Like, I kind of said in my prediction that I was fairly certain they wouldn't give him the Lumine feat, and they did use the fallback of the Eurasia colony feat. So that's definitely good. It's probably one of the better ones as far as research goes for this season. But then we get to the animation. I've seen a lot of people actually, like, they really liked the, I guess, 3D shots of Zero and Metal Sonic. And for Metal Sonic, I think they worked, but Zero really looked jarring. Those 3D shots really pulled me out of the fight. And it's I wouldn't say I liked them. They were a bit too distracting. When the fight was just with sprites, though, I actually felt that it was like that was the better part of the fight. And like Metal Overlord, and that was very good stuff. I am kind of saddened that they didn't include any of his extra weapons. Those would have been lovely to see in the animation. But really, beyond that, I don't think there's too much to say. So then we get to Lucario versus Renamon. For anyone who has seen my top 100 boss themes list, they know that I really like Mirror B's theme. So it actually confused me for a second when I heard it. In the next time thing, so I was very confused for a second. I'm like, are they throwing Mirror B into the fucking death battle? Like, army of Ludicolos against, I don't even know who else would have an afro that would be fighting him, but kind of threw me off for a second. But then it's Lucario versus Renamon. I guess they threw in that music because it's kind of porny. So Digimon versus Pokemon, but as has been confirmed on Twitter and in the Death Battle commentary for first members, we are not having trainers or tamers involved in this. So with what would have been probably either Sir Aaron or Karina versus Rika will not be the case. It will just be Lucario versus Renamon. And I'll kind of get more into what that might entail later. But for now, I think it's good to kind of go into a bit on the Pokemon side what this Lucario is going to be. Because with Mewtwo, they did actually treat it as a composite with with the two movies, even though they were distinctly different Mewtwo's. So I think the same thing might be the case here. And failing that, I think if they are going to choose just one Lucario, I think it's going to be the one from the, I think it's 8th Pokemon movie, the Mystery of Mew, where it was Sir Aaron's Lucario, where it had all of these sensing abilities, and it showed more in depth with what Lucario can do with Aura. As well, that I think that is the one that Smash Bros. Lucario is based on, so it would definitely play more into being able to actually go into a backstory and things, because if you just kind of go into, say, Karina's, then most of its feats are with Mega Evolution, which won't be available here. So for now, it's best if we kind of, like, I guess composite, but then I'll more or less indicate what the Mystery of Mew one would be capable of, because it's where most of the best feats are anyway. So first we'll kind of go into like moves and kind of typing stuff, because that seems to be a pretty hot topic when it comes to a lot of these videos. So with Lucario's steel fighting typing, the relevant types here are that it takes extra damage from fire, resists grass, resists rock a lot, or resists fairy. So the only one of those that's actually important here for Renamon is fire. Because with Renamon's moves, we have, I believe it's Diamond Storm, which has two type interpretations. Actually, technically three. you can interpret it as a grass type move, which I personally think that it would be, because it's basically like, despite the fact that it's Diamond Storm, it's still basically just leaves. And on the commentary, they did mention that they're going to be making fun of some of the namings for some of the moves. So I think they are going to make sure that they indicate that it's a grass type. If not, one of the theories that I've kind of seen is that they will consider it a fairy type move, which again wouldn't really help. It would be just as that's actually a normal. It doesn't resist it at all. It's just a normal because it's super effective against fighting and not very effective against steel, right? Okay, other than that, it can be viewed as a rock type move, oddly enough, because there is a Pokemon move called Diamond Storm, even though that would be really weird of them to do. But that would be a ×4 underneath. So, like, it would resist it doubly. That's basically one of the only major moves that Renamon really has. The only other one is Power Paw, which is either a fire type, or the fact that it's blue fire and is regarded as fox fire might actually make it fairy type, which is normal for it. So this can actually... I honestly feel like it's more like Foxfire, because it's described as Foxfire, and that would make it fairy type because it's more of the supernatural tricksters, and that's kind of what fairies and like fox demons in Japanese mythology are, and that's kind of what the whole thing with Renamon, Kyubimon, Sakyamon, Daomon, all of those are kind of in line with that kind of mythology. So I feel like fairy would actually fit there. So that would make it so Lucario resists a good majority of the attacks. Anything else is basically just combat, like punches and kicks. But as Pokemon shows, not all punches and kicks are inherently fighting type. There are things like Mega Punch, Mega Kick. A lot of moves are actually normal, even though they have like punches and kicks in the name. So I don't know if they're going to interpret it as it being super effective, because otherwise it's not very effective at all. So that would definitely be a concern for Renamon as well. Now, with some of Renamon's other abilities, such as disguising herself, they're going to fall flat when it comes to Lucario. Lucario's aura abilities can detect life force and detect non-living stuff as well. Like what was shown when he was like moving fast enough to make after images and dodging all these logs and shit that were coming at him when he was blindfolded. He was using aura to feel around him. And that kind of plays into Renamon not being a living thing, kind of. That's one of the things that's kind of vague, is that, like, Digimon don't have organs or anything like that, so would they give off aura? So I've seen some people argue that because they might not, Lucario's sensing wouldn't work on her, but he can still sense things that are physically there, even if they don't give off aura. So that basically counters the disguising, counters any stealth capabilities. So then it kind of comes back into stats, and this one's a bit more vague because it's really contended as to where both of these characters are for stats. One of the big things, though, is that the Lucario from Mystery of Mew managed to overpower several attacks and defeat the Reggie Trio. And these were hyper beams from the Reggie Trio. So that's a really major, like, durability feat and strength feat, is being able to take these three on. And mind you, in Mystery of Mew, those fucking Reggies sound terrifying. You hear them in the game and you do not expect them to sound like they do in the movie. Anyway, so another one of the really good feats, actually no, this is actually probably the best feat for Lucario, is not with Sir Aaron, but actually with Riley. There was one feat where they were on Mount Iron, I think, and there was an explosion that was going to literally destroy the island. And it was both combined effort of Riley and Lucario, but they actually put a force field of aura around the explosion, tunneled it up through the entire mountain, out the top, and then like a couple hundred meters in the air before it exploded. So that's a really good feat. Because even though it was a combined effort, even if you take just half of that, it's a really good feat. I haven't exactly seen it quantified, but it should still probably surpass anything that Renamon has. Because Renamon honestly doesn't have very many destructive feats. There's a lot of fights and such, but they don't destroy anything. They don't have really many quantifiable things for Renamon. Even for speed, there's faster than the eye can track movement, but Lucario has that too. And Lucario has fought Ash's Pikachu, which in one of the movies has a feat where he like starts picking lightning bolts actually out of the air to defend this tree. So it shows him sniping directly bolts very directly, which is honestly probably a Mach 3, I think like 2,000 feet or something like that. I remember seeing it quantified at some point, but it's more than Renamon can really deal with. So by this point, it's getting kind of clear what I think in terms of just base Renamon versus base Lucario. I haven't even really gotten into what moves Lucario will have, which it's hard to say. He's going to have Aura Sphere, he's going to have Bone Rush probably, potentially Detect, Copycat. Honestly, there's a good number that they could go with, but those are kind of the ones that are most closely associated with the character. Extreme Speed, Force Palm, a lot of things like that. So it's mostly going to be his fighting moves and ground moves, with probably a couple steel moves in there as well. Probably Swords Dance. He's got a lot more to choose from. That's one of the big things. But then we kind of come to the issue of Cubimon. Are they going to include it? While it is possible for some Digimon to digivolve on their own, one, it is incredibly difficult and requires a ton of power. So that's why I think that it is questionable whether they'll include Cubimon. It's out of the question that Daomon and Sakuyamon will be here. They won't be showing up, because if Renamon does get the power to go up to Cubimon, there's no feasible way that the fight's going to last long enough that any of the other forms are going to come into play. So then it kind of becomes base Lucario versus Cubimon. And here is one of the more questionable parts about it, because Cubimon is considered a decent champion level Digimon. So it's under most of the champion level Digimon that have quantifiable feats. So that puts it into this really gray area where it's hard to say what Cubemon's stats actually are. Because in most cases, it either fights and loses, fights with a large group of people, or just kind of doesn't fight. It was really quickly overshadowed by Daomon showing up, and then Daomon was just used for pretty much every fight beyond that. So I honestly don't think that Cubimon will add too much, because I still think that Lucario's raw stats put it way over what Cubimon can actually bring to the table, because it doesn't have those stats. See, Daomon, I actually fully agree, though. Daomon and Sakuyamon would be fully capable of destroying even Mega Lucario without much effort, probably. But see, that's part of why I actually like this more. I don't want to watch, oh hey, it's even, okay, now the Digimon's starting to win, Digivolved again, stomps. I don't want to watch that again. If I wanted to watch it again, I would just watch Charizard versus Greymon, because they already went into Digi-Evolution gets up to bullshit levels. So I don't see any point in them just rehashing that, so I think it is a good decision for them to leave the trainers out and just kind of let it be the two Pokemon. And with a potential champion form, I think that is a good place to leave it off at. Because once you start getting past the champion forms into, like, mega forms and, like, ultima forms and things like that, that's when shit starts to get out of control and you start requiring, like, highly powerful legendaries to really be able to even the odds into Pokemon's favor. Interestingly enough, this isn't even going to be Torian's 3D animation, but it is confirmed that the one he's doing is the one after this one. It better be damn worth it. Like, what has he been working on? I know I keep saying that, but each time it doesn't show up, it just makes me more curious. So I think that's really all I can say about this one, is I do think Lucario is going to win and should, especially because I think it would be weird of them to kind of just say, oh, yep, Digimon wins again, Digivolution stats win. I think that would be very silly of them to do. So with that, I think I'll just leave it off there. And yeah, I guess we'll see you guys on the next one. Have a good one.